As each of us progress through life, gathering experience and perspective, we seldom have the opportunity to recount our personal stories and impart the knowledge we've gained. Walking among us, one and all, are living legacies.
Hi, I'm Tom Morrow, and welcome to Living Legacies. This is the first of a two-part series on Rudy González of Oceanside. Rudy was the lightweight champion of the world in boxing for a number of years, and we welcome you to the show, Rudy.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have lived in Oceanside for the past 20 years?
Yes.
Semi-retired because you keep busy.
Well, I'm still pretty active, you know.
Yeah.
Still, I guess I want to still act until I can't walk anymore, you know. But still, yes.
Now, you were born south of Guadalajara?
I was born in, it's called Los Altos de Jalisco. It's about 85 miles south of Guadalajara. Mm-hmm. And I was baptized in a little town called Capilla de Guadalupe.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, what year was this?
It was 1945. I was born December 16, 1945.
Okay.
So somewhere about 6 months later is when I was baptized.
Well, what was it like growing up in those early years in Mexico?
It was very hard, very hard. It's so hard to make a living in those days because, you know,
Your folks were farmers?
Yes. They had to work in the farm, and I grew up helping my dad. My older brother and I used to, you know, help my father. Mm-hmm. And finally we moved to Mexico City. Mm-hmm. And I was 2 months when we moved to Mexico City, and I came back a year later.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
What did they do in Mexico City?
My father was working at one of the biggest breweries they have in the country of Mexico. It's called La Cervecería Modelo de Mexico. Uh-huh.
I've had a few bottles of Modelo.
Corona.
Corona. Yeah.
Yes, they make all those beers. So he worked there until, fortunately, he cut off one of his thumbs, and then he was laid off. And then we moved back to the farm, back to Guadalajara, yes.
Yeah.
And we stayed there in the farm for a while, yes.
Now, how about when you were old enough to go to school? What happened there?
To be honest with you, and that's kind of embarrassing, you know, and I was embarrassed almost throughout my childhood. I never went to school. I went to kindergarten 2 days. That was the longest I went to school. I didn't know how to write my name. Uh-huh. When I was about 17 years old when I learned how to write my name. Mm-hmm. And with the help of friends, they helped me put the words together, and I knew what Rodolfo Gato González was, you know, my name. And that was an accomplishment, you know, that day.
Well, you know, you certainly don't need to be embarrassed about it because this has happened to a lot of people, but how did you cope? How did you get along not being able to read nor write?
It was very hard.
I imagine you come up with little tricks to...
Yes, but it was hard and embarrassing, you know, and I people who knew how to read and everything, I kind of avoided. I move out, you know, to change the conversation or move, you know, talk to something, you know. So I don't want them to ask me to write something or read something because I don't know, you know, and I was, you know, growing older and I don't know. It's very embarrassing, very, you know, we had to work, you know, to make a living.
Now, were there a lot of guys or girls like yourself at that period that didn't know how to read and write?
Probably so, yes, probably so.
But it was something you kind of kept to yourself.
Yes, and also because the economy was so hard to, you know, you had to work to make a living, you know, can't go to school, and yes.
Well, now, boxing wasn't your first love,
choice.
was it?
No, it was not. No.
What is it that you really wanted to do at first?
I started out as a bullfighter, and I got hurt. And that
you and the bull didn't get along?
No. I say I'd rather fight human beings than bulls any day.
Well, tell me about that, because you trained as a bullfighter, toreador.
I was 13 years old, just a kid, and I was, you know, some of the older people, they got me into this, you know. I was, you know, afraid, you know, just a kid, you know. But they got me into this, and they offered me pretty good money in those days. It was 50 pesos, you know, for bull, to fight a bull. So I said, I'll do that, you know. I needed the money to help my family.
Well, now, let me start right there. 50 pesos in those days, what would that be worth?
50 pesos,
was
it
still
would
the
be
2 to 1 in American dollars?
It would be like about $250 American money now.
Now?
Yeah, 50 pesos.
Yeah, because there was a time for a long time,
Yes.
it was 2 to 1 on the,
Yes.
on the exchange rate. It was just a standard.
It was 12 and a half to $1.
Yeah,
12 and a half
okay,
to $1
okay.
for many, many years.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was good money. You know, just like say me and that was not my sport.
Well, what happened the first time you faced a bull?
Well, the first time it went well, you know, but just the small bull, you know, just a small one. You know, but even though I was, and I didn't know much, but they taught me, and they were not professional, but they taught me how to do it. So I started doing it with the cape, and it was going well. And the people, were encouraging me to.
You like that cheering.
Oh yeah, ole, ole. So the first bull I killed it, okay, the tiny bull, you know. But the second one is that was when I got hurt, you know. So I got hurt. He threw me up in the air, and I hit myself on my way down. Hit myself in my liver. That's when I damaged my liver. That's where the struggle started right there, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's going to be the theme of the movie, because when I hurt my liver, and then it became cancerous, and then eventually I was many doctors that I had to stop fighting later on, you know, because of
we'll talk about your movie a little later on, but after you decided you didn't want to be a bullfighter, then what happened?
I said I'd rather fight human beings. And I started. What happens is that my cousin, he was fighting for the championship of the world in Los Angeles. He fought Alphonse Halimi. He was from France.
Jose Becerra?
Jose Becerra, yes. And he was to me, he's a legend in Mexico. He's one of the first legends Mexico has ever, has had, you know, and he's pretty well known everywhere. And then
he was bantamweight?
118 pounds.
And this is 1960.
In 1960, yes.
Yeah.
And he won the championship, I believe July 13 or July 12 or something like that, of 1959. And when he came back to Guadalajara, there was thousands of people on the streets.
He was a hometown hero.
Hometown hero, yes. That was our hometown, Guadalajara. And there was cameramans all over, newspapers, radio, and then they had a motorcade with police cars and police motorcycles.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest events I seen when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw my cousin standing in a convertible car, and the governor next to him, standing up with his belt, you know. And then I said,
you're only about 15 years older.
13.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, I said, this is what I'm going to be, and I want to start soon. You know? So my cousin started training me. He started training me.
Jose did?
Yes. And he, 1 month later, you know, I didn't have no amateur fights, none at all, no schooling hardly at all. 1 month later, I fought my first professional fight, 6 rounds. And my opponent was 27 years old, and I was only 13 and a half. I was, you know, and when I first went into the ring, I took a look at my opponent. It was, you know, he had his wife and kids in ringside.
He was a grown man.
Yes. I told my cousin, you are crazy, you know, this man is going to kill me, you know. I don't know. And he said, oh, so don't be afraid, and I can't punch. And I told him, yeah, you say that because you are outside the ring. Why don't you get inside? You know,
So
the bell rang for the first round. I closed my eyes shut. I was afraid. I was shaking. And he came charging at me. Really, he was punching me hard, you know. So I started swinging from every angle, you know, from all.
Did this fighter know how young you were?
I didn't know.
No one knew how young you were, probably.
As a matter of fact, I show a picture to Ted, you know,
right.
When I was in those days. No, I didn't know what I was doing. I was swinging and I was hitting him hard, you know. I was non-stop. And pretty soon I was throwing punches and I wasn't hitting anyone. So I opened my eyes. He was laying down and then the camera.
Lucky punch?
Lucky punch. My 45 seconds of the first round. That was my first knockout.
You knocked him out in 45 seconds?
45 seconds of the first round, yeah.
And it was just because you were scared and you had your eyes closed.
Oh, I was fighting for my life, yes. And then after that, you know, I gained more confidence and I went up to win my first 35 fights, all knockouts. And then I went up to have my first 52 fights, all wins, 50 knockouts. And right now in boxing history, I still holding the #1 record in my division, the lightweight division. There's no one who has had so many straight knockouts in boxing history.
Well, now at that early age, when you were boxing, did you start at the lightweight?
No.
You were probably bantamweight.
Yes, I was a bantamweight in those days.
Is
Yes.
featherweight lighter than bantamweight?
No, it's featherweight is 126 pounds heavier than bantamweight. Bantamweight is 118 pounds. Featherweight is 126 pounds, and lightweight is 135.
Well, now, when you when you got this first fight under your belt, so to speak, did somebody, your cousin or somebody, realize that you had real talent? Did they start training you professionally? I mean, did you start getting some professional training for this?
Well, he was training me. He was, everything I know I learned from him.
Is that right?
As a matter of fact,
now, did he retire as a boxer, or did he continue boxing?
No, he retired.
Yeah,
he retired.
Got the belt, went home.
Yes, he had a few more fights and retired. The only thing that I believe I learned the best schooling from my cousin that I could ever get anywhere else.
Is he still living?
Yes, he is.
Where,
Yes.
down in Mexico?
Guadalajara, yeah.
Guadalajara,
yes.
yeah.
He told me one of the punches that made history for me. It's called the liver punch. I knocked out 71 of 89 fights, and 47 of those fights was the liver. I knocked out 47 to the liver, and no one I had ever seen, no one I seen in boxing right now in this present generation, I haven't seen no one fighter that knows how to throw that liver punch.
Is that it's a legal punch?
It's legal. It's legal.
Yeah.
Perfectly legal. And also, you prepare your opponent that you can hit him with a liver punch without missing at all whatsoever, no matter who he is. Who he is.
It sounds bad.
Yeah. But you know what happens is the liver punch is so effective, the opponent goes down to the canvas.
It just kind of paralyzes him?
He's conscious, but the right leg paralyzes temporarily for about 20 seconds, enough to count 10.
That's all you want, right?
That's all I want. Yeah.
You didn't fight under your own name when you first started fighting?
When I first started, I was fighting with Joe Gomez because my father was very strict. He didn't want me to fight. He said boxing is brutal and you can get killed, which is right, so I had quite a few fights, under a different name, Joe Gomez, and then
well, now in the history book, is there an asterisk by that name, or I mean, is your name, or did they put your name in all the way now?
Now they put my name all the way,
Okay,
Rodolfo Gato González.
So Dad didn't, Papa didn't like this.
But what happens is that my father, he found out through friends that I was fighting, and then found out that I was knocking everybody out. So he decided, he said, okay, he said, you have my blessings and just take care of yourself. And he said, I had a very important fight coming up the following week. So I told him, my father, now since you know that I'm a professional fighter, why don't you come over to my next fight to watch me fight? And then the day before my fight is when he mysteriously died, got killed, something. He was mixed up in politics, and he was only 37 years old.
Oh,
37.
that's too bad.
So that was a very mysterious death. But I won my fight. As a matter of fact, when I went back we went to bury him.
Well, let's go back to that first fight. How much money did you make on that first professional fight? You remember?
I made 10 pesos, which was equal to 65 cents American money. About 70 cents American money.
Well, so did you did you make some pretty good money then in those days?
No, not. I fought 13 years. And I wanted to buy a house for my mother, help my mother, and I still have make hardly any money. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a book. So everything's going to come out in the book. I fought my first fight in Los Angeles. When I fought in Los Angeles, I was 17 years old. I fought the #1 in the world at the Olympic Auditorium. They offered me $800, and I couldn't speak English. Just Mexican kid coming from Mexico, I don't know. They only give me $27 for the fight, and for the next quite a few more fights, you know, that was.
So you were taken advantage of.
Yes, yes.
Well, let's talk about that. Now, you were 17 when you came to the United States,
Yes.
and you couldn't speak English. How did you get to the United States?
Well, the first time I got into the United States, okay, we came in the car. The second time they brought me back in the trunk of a car. It's not a very good feeling.
Well, the first time you came in.
Yes, I came with a visa to fight. I was the #1 in the world. As a matter of fact, he was from Tijuana, Licho Guerrero. He was a featherweight. His previous fight, he fought Tom Morrow. He was a featherweight champion of the world, 126 pounds. And he beat him by, you know, they put him up to #1 in the world.
So you got a visa to come in to fight that fight.
So,
but the next time, you couldn't get a visa, or you
well,
didn't even try?
I had a visa to fight somebody else. But what happens in those days? Anything. What happens there? Licho Guerrero, the #1 in the world. He was going to fight. He was going to fight Danny Valdez. He was the California state champion. But he got sick, so they put me as a standby to fight him. I was going to fight somebody else. So they put me within 2 days of training, so I fought him.
Did you beat him?
That was my first loss, you know, because I already had a big lump in my liver. I had a big ball, and the doctor says, one punch in your liver, you're dead. That's what
Is this as a result from the injury that you got from the bullfighting?
Yes, yes.
That come back to haunt you then, huh?
Oh, believe me. That was my last fight, and they happened. Was February 15th, 1963. That was my last fight, and I lost my first loss. I lost that fight.
And it was several years before you fought again?
2.5 years.
Okay.
2.5 years.
Right.
I couldn't fight anymore.
Now, all the time that you were fighting professionally in those early years, now you were supporting your mother?
Yes.
Did you have brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have my older brother. You know, he's helped me a lot. The only problem is that in those days, but didn't pay hardly any money. You know, he was when we moved to Tijuana for better fights, better future. He was making $2 a day, you know, and it's not very much, you know, $2 a day. You know? And I was making hardly any money. I was taking advantage, you know, for number of fights.
Yeah, right.
And it was rough in those days.
Now, along the way, now, who was managing you?
I found a manager that as a matter of fact, he from Long Beach. He was started to help me. I was living in a seaside gym in Long Beach for a while, and I made some comment now that I was eating. He was giving me $5 per week to eat, which was not much. Not enough. So
you get a match. Huh?
Yeah, cereal for breakfast, cereal for lunch, and cereal for dinner, for a long time. And it's not a very nutritious food for an athlete, you know, for a fighter.
No.
But at least I was staying alive.
Well, now, was he good to you, or were you taken advantage of? I mean, I would think that. Here's a young man coming in the country under questionable circumstances.
Yes.
Can't read nor write his own language, and can't speak the. So
yes.
I mean.
So I was not a person that started arguing with them and trying to for them to be honest, decent.
You just pretty much had to.
Yeah, just let it go, you know. And as long as I was alive, you know, and I was fine. You know.
So, how long was he your manager?
He was my manager for 3 years, and then I got another manager, which he was almost like father to me. He helped me out a lot. He even gave me a job, which things started improving in those days, and that's when I started winning my fights. I lost 7 fights of 89 fights. I lost 7, and in that period of times when I lost about 5 of them those days because I had not recuperated yet because of the sickness and because I was not eating properly and I was not training. Right. Only 2-3 days notice they put me to fight.
Well, now, were you single at the time or were you married?
Yes, I was single at that time. Yes. Yeah, I didn't get married until back in 1969. By that time I was already you know, going up in the boxing ranks. You know, yeah.
So during the you started back fighting about 65, 66?
Yeah, 65. But the end of 65, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 65. Yeah. After I got healed.
And you started winning again?
I believe I lost. No, I lost two fights or 3 fights, and then I started winning again. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, when you went back on the road, had you moved up to the lightweight? You'd gained some weight.
I was a junior lightweight, 130 pounds.
130 pounds.
Like, now they call it super featherweight.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, they call it now super featherweight. I was 130 pounds, and I was still not too strong, but I was winning my fights. Yes. As a matter of fact, I was very honored to have my first fight in Las Vegas at the Caesars Palace in Las Vegas back in 1966, and I was very honored to have a picture with Jane Mansfield. She came to the ring and stood with us, and she said, he said, I came to watch you fight. She said, I came to watch you fight. I want you to win. You know.
Yeah, well, I think we've got a picture of that.
Yes,
of you and Jane Mansfield.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy, so I had to do my best to look good.
Yeah.
In the ring. Yeah.
In Mexico, the boxing is extremely popular.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Well, in fact, all of Latin America, but in Mexico especially.
Yes.
But the lightweights and the bantamweights, those are the more popular classes of boxing, isn't it?
Yes.
You don't find many heavyweights now.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, not too many. No.
I mean, in America, everybody focuses on the heavyweights, and the other classes, the other weights seem to kind of take a back seat. But in Mexico, it's just the other way around.
But here in America, there's a lot of tall people, more heavier people. In Mexico, we are more shorter and then more skinny. Just smaller people.
Smaller in stature.
Smaller. Yeah. So there aren't too many heavyweights at all. No.
Yeah.
And so mostly the lower weights. That's the reason. It's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition. Pretty tough.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say there's boxing clubs down in Mexico are very popular, aren't they? I mean, Marcia, we don't have that many around here in this country, do we?
Well, there's a lot of boxing gyms here, but not as packed with fighters training like in Mexico. In Mexico, at the Arena Coliseo where I trained, at least 100. They were training there all the time. They had three rings. They had bags all over the place, and
How do you get noticed? I mean, did you just happen to be lucky to be with that much competition? How did you rise to the top so fast?
I was just probably one of the lucky persons that, I just, also the schooling they got from my cousin,
And of course, his name probably meant a lot too.
Yes.
Yeah,
they help a lot too. Also, you kind of if you have a world boxing champion in your corner, and then your opponent, that's you're gonna say, oh,
it's a little bit intimidating.
Oh yeah, yes it is.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot. Psychologically helps. Yeah, it did help me. Yeah. And also the schooling that I got from him helped me a lot too. A lot. There's I haven't seen in this new generation some of the moves and the style and the classic style, and also how the certain punches I haven't seen them use any of the skills.
Well, Rudy, we're going to take a break. This ends the first part of our show, or part of our interview. In the second half, we'll talk more about your later life and the things that you've been doing in the later years.
Sure.
We've been talking with Rudy, the cat, Gato, Los Gato.
El Gato, no, El Gato.
Yeah, El Gato, I'm sorry.
Yeah. El Gato.
It's been a while since I've spoken Spanish. But González of Oceanside, and he's got one fascinating life. He was the former lightweight champion of the world, boxing champion. And in the next edition of Living Legacy, we'll be picking up and telling you the rest of his life. I'm Tom Morrow. Join us here again next time on Living Legacies.